back. My name is Shamika, and this is Check the Rhymes. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and on October 1st, Ananda Lewis announced to the world that she has stage 3 breast cancer and has been battling it for 2 years. So she's joining me today here on Check the Rhymes, and we're going to talk about why it is so important for you to get your mammograms and do self-checks. So stay tuned. You don't want to miss today's show.
From the beginning of all this, I have been really shielding myself from any unnecessary stress and, in fact, removing a lot of stress from my life. And that phrase, don't talk about it, be about it, that's been my life for almost 2 years. And honestly, there's nothing any of you could have done. So I apologize if you feel like I excluded you. It wasn't personal.
Joining me today here on Check the Rhymes, I have Ananda Lewis. Welcome back.
Shamika, it's really good to see you always.
It's like, you know, I'm like, I have a whole new hair.
I know, you're like, transformation. I see you evolving, girl. I see you evolving. I love it.
So we have to, of course, turn this to a serious note. As I said in my intro, that on October 1st, you announced that you have been dealing with your own cancer battle. So I want to talk a bit about that. But with it being Breast Cancer Awareness Month, can you kind of give me like your journey a little bit? Like, tell me, like, you mentioned on your Instagram that you kind of shunned mammograms.
For a really long time, I have refused mammograms. And that was a mistake. I watched my mom get mammogrammed for 30 years almost. And at the end of that, she had breast cancer. And I said, radiation exposure for years, breast cancer. Yeah, I'm going to pass.
Can you talk about that and talk about now why it's so important?
Yeah, I didn't just shun them. I refused them and looked the nurse at my doctor's office in the face and said, I'm not doing it. Take it off my thing. Like, I was adamant about, don't touch me with that.
Yeah.
And I remember that feeling, I remember feeling like, you're going to hurt me with this. Mm-hmm. And that came from, like I said in the post, watching my mom get mammogrammed for all those years. She was diligent about it. She believed the science. She believed what she was told to do. Right. She did it. And it still didn't keep her from getting breast cancer. And I think in my mind, the correlation that created was that mammograms and the level of radiation that you're exposed to, because there is a level of radiation exposure that is proven, that the accumulation of that is what caused my mom's cancer. Now, I can't say that that's not true. We don't really know what causes different cancers or how they start. I'm learning. I'm figuring out what has caused the one that my body's dealing with.
Right.
I don't call it mine because I'm not claiming this sucker.
Don't claim that.
No, he's not mine. He's just staying for a moment. We're working together to get him on the road. He's in the Airbnb for a minute. But so I'm figuring mine out. But I don't want women to think that, like, I don't want women to think like I thought.
Right.
Which is that at 40, when you should start to get them, that little bit of time is going to be enough to really hurt your body. My mom had 30 years of mammograms. That's a long time. And when she started, the mammogram technology was way different than it is now. It was probably more radiation back then. They have evolved the technology. Things have improved. And regardless of whether or not things have improved, the little bit you might expose yourself to pays off with the big benefit of knowing what's going on in your body and being able to do something about that earlier, than I was able to do because I said no. So the reason it became important to me this breast cancer month as opposed to last breast cancer month, when I still, had a diagnosis and was dealing with it, I wasn't in a place where I could really talk about it then. I'm really that's not in my nature. I'm not a fearful person. I really am not. And maybe that is because of my full-on belief and understanding of God and how she works in the world and in my life. I don't know what it is, but I'm not a fearful person. And so my first reaction wasn't fear. My first reaction was, oh, I need to start fixing this. Like, I just got proactive immediately. Like, literally the moment my doctor told me, which was on a phone call, which I have on tape because I have taped everything from I taped my biopsy, I think. Just because, you and me, we tape people. I record it just in case. I never want to experience this again. And I knew I wasn't going to remember it clearly. So I knew I needed to get it all on tape.
Yes.
So from that moment, I was like, oh, got it. And I just started on a path of cleaning my body out, of doing even more research than I had done when my mom dealt with it, when I went through it with her probably 13 or 14 years ago now. Totally different information, totally different access now. There's much more you can do. There's much more to know. So it made me proactive. But the reason I wanted to share this Breast Cancer Month was because I'm in a place where I felt like I got this more.
Okay.
Like whatever else happens, I'm in a good place, you know?
Okay.
And now it was important for me to say, okay, now I have something to tell you that I can stand behind, that I feel like I know a little more what I'm talking about, you know?
Right.
And it was just time. Everything in my spirit said, you have to do it. It's scary as hell, and you still have to do it.
Well, that you know, when I watched the announcement, I thought, you know, just thinking back on Chadwick Boseman, how he kept his whole journey private. And then there was a moment where you said, I see why people keep it private, you know, when you got upset for a second. Do you, I guess the question would be, are you glad that you did come out and say it and share it with everybody? Or do you wish that you would have kept it private?
I'm on the fence on that. I am relieved. I know I did what I was called to do. Okay. In terms of helping other women and helping them be preventative in ways that I wasn't able to do for myself. That was the point. This wasn't about telling people my business. This wasn't about opening up my life. That part I may regret. I don't know. I haven't regretted it yet. I haven't seen anything but a lot of love and amazing support coming through. I turned my notifications off after I posted. It was a really hard night on my body anyhow. I needed to be really focused on just kind of, you know, the healing work that particular night. So I didn't watch everything as it unfolded. I didn't want to see that because it wasn't about that for me. I felt like, listen, I just birthed this little baby. I put her out in the world. I'm gonna let her do her thing because I got to go rest. And I still have a look at my notifications, honestly. I mean, I know we're talking in, you know, the day after time, and you might hear this later, so you'll cut that out. But I still haven't looked because that's not the point for me. And like I told you, I have acupuncture at 10:30. Then I go into treat. Like this is ongoing. This is nonstop. This is a full-time job, and it's not about social media. So whatever happens, happens, you know, and I know that I'm protected and supported and I'm okay with that. So yeah, I mean, I'm on the fence, but I do feel like I did the right thing for me. I wouldn't have been able to feel good about myself had I not shared I think sharing your mistakes is so important. Everybody's always trying to make themselves look good and look all perfect and everything. No, tell me where you messed it up. Yeah. Because now you're giving me an opportunity to not step on the same tacks on the road, you know? Like, that's the information I want. And I don't have a problem doing that because I don't have a huge ego. Like, I don't care. Like, whatever. You know, you want to think I'm a fool? Because I've already told you I'm a fool for not doing it. Like, tell me something I don't know. You know. So yeah, I think overall I'm okay with it. And I'm gonna do a little oversharing. I'm gonna do a little oversharing because when I watched your video, I thought to myself, you know what? I have been putting off a colonoscopy ever since. Like I just keep canceling it every month. Like they call. But it's scary. I've not had one before, but I just keep putting it off. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, you know, I'm like, you know, like it's not. I don't know what it is. It's just this thing of like, well, in my head, I'm like, gosh, I'm getting older. I got to have these regular now. But it also is, you know, important to stay on top of everything. Because I'm fine walking in getting a mammogram. I mean, I was just telling my sister, I'm like, the women there are nice. You know, we talk about my writing and everything else and have a whole conversation. They come back in. It's uncomfortable, but, you know, I don't, you know, so it just reminded me like, okay, I need to stay on top of my stuff too. As I was watching you talk about your journey, I did want to know, like, can I just say something? Because you talked about pain real quick. I don't want to.
Yes.
But pain is what keeps us from doing a lot of necessary things. The idea that it might hurt. Yes. And what I have found is that just in life in general, not just in this particular 2 years of a journey through getting cancer out of my body, but in general, life is painful. Yeah. You know, we are divine beings living in these physical bodies. We get to borrow them for a moment and it hurts. You know what I mean? It does. Childbirth hurt, but look, I have this amazing boy and losing people hurts, but you had this amazing time. I mean, we have emotional pain. We have physical pain. I think that what we have evolved to as people in this day and age is something, what we've missed in the evolution. I'll explain it in a sec. We've done ourselves a disservice. generations ago, decades ago, back when, original man, we were living in caves, we were in tribes and all the evolution time of human beings, right? That was probably poorly said, but y'all know what I mean. We had, in most indigenous societies, they had rites of culture, rites of passages built into the culture that were around pain management. They were pain tolerance tests.
Right.
And that's because your ability to manage this body in this lifetime is directly tied to how much pain you can take.
Right.
And how much pain you can take is directly tied to how much pain you've had to take.
Exactly.
The more pain you tolerate, the more you can tolerate. And it continues to evolve and expand. And so we don't do ourselves any favors by avoiding those little bits of pain. In fact, we hurt our ability to handle what might be on the horizon for us that might be a little more painful because we haven't practiced it. So I have a philosophy of practicing pain, because the little things and mastering those make the big things not so bad.
Right. Right.
And so it is important to just face it and say, listen, yeah, it's going to hurt. So what? A lot of things are going to hurt. And the benefit of taking that little bit of pain is going to far exceed how that pain's going to affect me. So it's a mentality that you have to apply to your life in general that allows you to handle life. We see people who won't wear a mask ruining our society.
Right.
The hell? That's somebody who's never had to tolerate anything. Not a thing. You've never been told no. You never had to wait your turn, 45 in the debate. You've never had to do anything you're uncomfortable with. And we see what that does. It cripples people. It makes them weak. It makes them unable to deal with the realities of this life. And I don't want to be that. And I will not be that. And we all have an opportunity in little moments every day to test ourselves and pass that test. It's like when you're at work and you throw away, you crumble up a paper and you're like, there's that trash can over there. And you're like, yo, if I make that shot, here's what I get. Like, I play those games with myself. It's similar to that. It's like a mental game, but it's based on physical pain tolerance. And I really think there's something there. It's a pain test you put yourself through every chance you get.
Absolutely. I did want to ask you, like, you mentioned that you have a treatment coming up. What type of treatments are you doing? I mean, you're not doing chemo, are you?
No, I'm not. I have refused standard care for almost, from the beginning and pretty much all the way through. But there are chemos that are available that are not what standard does. I think there are places that use chemo strategically. Poison is sometimes a necessary thing to take, depending on what you're dealing with. So I don't have a closed door to it that's just a knee-jerk, like, never any chemo. I have a philosophy that says I'm going to live, and I'm going to live doing things that I'm okay with, and I'm going to live a life at the level of quality that I want. What allows for that? What are the things that satisfy those requirements? And I'm finding those things very easily. So I can't get into everything I'm doing right now, but I am being very strategic and very creative. I'll say that. And where I'm headed after this is acupuncture. I think acupuncture is an amazing addendum to anything you're doing in terms of a healing protocol. For me,
so when was your tumor discovered during a mammogram or a self-check, or how did that come about?
I passed the whole need for mammograms are early detection strategies, right? I detected mine. So then it was like, well, we going right to MRIs and PET scans. I completely bypassed the whole need for a mammogram because I did it wrong. So a mammogram would have helped me early enough, but at the point at which you already find something, now you're at the next level. You don't skip the easy, you skip the level 1 and now you're at level 2 of what you have to do.
Gotcha.
The other reason I think it's so important for women to know, like, don't make this harder on yourself than it needs to be. Just do the little stuff, then you have to do the big stuff. But, people are going to make their own choices. I'm not here to tell people what to do. I shared this to share what I chose and how it backfired on me, so that maybe that experience could inform somebody else to make better decisions for themselves. Your decisions are always up to you. And I stand by, I own what I've created in my life as a result of what I've done. I didn't cause it, but I certainly didn't help it. And those consequences I'm dealing with every day.
Where do you feel like you're at, like, mentally right now compared to the moment the doctor called you to right now in this moment?
I would say same, but I'm so much better. So it's not the same. I've made so many radical changes in my life, and I've done so many, things, lots of things, so many different things, some things that I would definitely never recommend anybody try. I am a really good guinea pig for myself, kind of because of that pain thing, and I have a high tolerance. So I can, inject my breast. I don't even want to get in. Like, half of what I've done, I don't know where I'm gonna be able to share all my footage, because nobody's gonna air it. Like, you out your damn mind. We can't show people this. Sorry. But I've been a really, really interesting guinea pig this last 2 years. And so I say all that to say that I'm in a really good place because of all I've done, but I've also grown a lot in terms of what I know to be okay and not okay for myself.
Yeah.
So, life is just an evolution, and I'm better than where I was. Let me say that. So in that sense, I'm in a good place because I have done the evolutionary work necessary for me in this part of the journey. I'll say that.
Okay. One of the things
I'm happy. I'm joyous. My happiness is not a sham. I don't know that I could fake having this much energy and being this happy about life. So, whatever people think about that, they think, but I am truly living in gratitude and joy and happiness and love all the time.
That's good. I was just going to say that. Like, you always seem to be happy. Like, every time I've talked to you, you are always very happy. And so even I think the first time we spoke was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 years ago. Exactly.
Right before. It was the end of 2018.
Okay. Yeah. So then you were still working on a TV show and doing carpentry. So has that changed at all for you? As far as your lifestyle and working, or are you just completely just focused now on your health?
Well, I worked through a lot of this, and that the physical work has become more difficult just because of the time that I've had to commit to the healing. So there's only so many hours in a day. And I definitely had to kind of shut down a lot of that. But, Corona has impacted that too. All of us are looking for creative ways to work. Work has dried up across the board. And so you see people doing more independent stuff, doing more work. You can't go to a job site full of people anymore. That just doesn't happen. So it was impacted for more reasons than just my health stuff. But it's taking a toll. It's going to take a toll. That's why you want to be preventative, so you can avoid the kind of toll it takes, right? But you roll with what happens and work with the cards you got. And I believe that what is in the future for me has much more to do with working around the health. In terms of helping other women, creating, my mind is always working on how do I use this to be helpful and to be beneficial, for me, because we all need to thrive and survive in life. And you have to look at it both ways, or you're doing yourself a disservice. And so I'm definitely in the works with a lot of stuff around that. But I think for the construction stuff, what I'm finding with all the testing I've done and everything, finding out what toxins are in my body, finding out, genetically how this started, all of the things that I've discovered, there are a lot of toxins I was exposed to on job sites that are body that are suppressing my immune system and causing, making it hard for my immune system to be able to battle the cancer cells and get them out, because they're supposed to die and they're not. And, most people kind of know how the cancer setup happens, but there's reasons for that. It's not some alien that drops an egg in your body. Your body does this, and there's a malfunctioning that occurs for a reason. If you can track that reason, you can get to some of the fix, right? And some of the fix for me has been detox because of all the toxins in my body that I exposed myself to working in the field I chose. So, so it's a weird double-edged sword. I love it. And it's also contributing to some difficulty in my body.
Okay. Have you talked to your son about your diagnosis?
Yeah, I'm really honest with him. He's a smart, wonderful, bright little being. And I didn't feel like it was necessary to keep it from him. He was 7, or he just turned he was 7 when I got the news, or was told that my body was having this issue, and then he turned 8. So he's known from the beginning, and I was careful in how I told it to him. But for me, this conversation is never, I need to tell you something, my body is, it's never that. It's never sad, it's never morose. I don't look at it like that. So that's not how I would have the conversation, because that's not how I feel. And it's not my understanding of what's going on in my body. So it wasn't doom and gloom. It was like, listen, mommy has to change some things, and here's what you're going to see happen, and here's why, and here's what my goal is, and here's how you can help me. And he was like, all right. He knows when I would have those breaks, when I'd be on these crazy diet plans, strict fasting or whatever, and keto, and all fruit, like all the different stuff I tried, he'd know what I was doing. He'd be like, Mom, you can't eat that. Put that down. You got to live. He'd be on me. He became like my little sergeant, my little general. I'd be like, dang, I wish I hadn't told you now. Can I just enjoy myself for a day? I mean, he was really, he's amazing. And he's been on me. And his dad, same way, just amazing support from my kind of nuclear, family. And everybody, like, they've been the ones that have been aware from the very beginning, right? My immediate circle. But as that widens in terms of knowledge and people knowing what's going on, everybody's amazing. I think that people understand because this is so prevalent. Everybody has been touched by this in some way or another. Right. Someone they know, someone they love, themselves, except somebody.
Exactly.
My family was majorly touched by this before I was. So this isn't new. It's not some unheard of thing that all of a sudden, you're the only one on the planet dealing with it. This is really more common than we would like to believe, and more common than it should be. And so I don't feel like I'm on some island at all. But yeah, my son he's dope. I made him. So I was like, I'm gonna take a little credit for that. You good. You good, boy. I love that kid.
There was something that a friend said to me yesterday, actually. She said that it's important to see people that look like us also dealing with journeys like this, because it's always, when you hear breast cancer, it's like, even some of the ads you may see on TV, maybe the white woman with the blonde hair, perfect life, that type of thing. But she said it's important that we see somebody that looks like us, somebody that we've grown up with, that can explain to us and remind us of why it's so important to go get those mammograms. And so thank you for being so transparent.
You're welcome. I don't know any other way to be. I mean, I guess I can edit myself. I'm just not good at it. It's easier for me to not say anything than to start talking and have to edit myself. Yeah. So that's why I was silent for a while. I was like, once I start talking, it's going, let me be careful. But I appreciate your acknowledgement of that. It's my mouth has gotten me in trouble, but it's also blessed me. So I'm gonna take both sides.
So speaking of support, I know that you mentioned that you don't want people to feel sorry for you. And what kind of support can fans and just people that, all the comments on social media, what can they do to support you?
From what I've heard, through secondhand sources about the comments, everybody's doing exactly what they can do. I mean, from a distance, what can you do, right? What are the options you can do from a distance? Energy is real, and energy moves through all distances, right? Right. So you can send me energy. You can close your eyes and see me, focus on me, surround me in the healing light of God, and whatever your reference to your source is, I accept it. You're free to think and feel how you want to feel. You can shower me with that and see me enveloped in it. And I will get that, because energy moves and it's real. We are energetic beings. It all works. So, I don't need much. Gratefully, I'm so grateful that I have like the kind of support on a physical level that I need to do the kind of healing I chose to do. And so, I think spreading the word, taking care of yourself, not ending up in the same position, the same kind of way. Like, that was the whole point. You have an opportunity to make a different choice, and so help me by making that choice. Make it worth me opening up my life to whatever, you. Make that worth it. Take my advice. Get your colonoscopy, Shamika.
I am. It's scheduled for the 19th.
Good. And then stay on top of it and just, listen, there are ways to mitigate the radiation of mammograms that I wasn't aware of when I was refusing them, right? I've learned that on this journey. So what I could have done, and I don't want to tell people what those are because I don't want to advise them to do something. I'm not a doctor. I want them to just know there are ways to mitigate it. Now you know what to search for. Now you know what to look for. Do your own research. You have to be your own advocate, as in all things in life. You're the only one who's going to suffer whatever consequences of whatever you do, no matter what path you take. So make sure it's something you are okay with. Nobody else matters in your decisions in your life. And it's difficult to do, but I have been burned learning that lesson in this journey. I have had to separate myself from people I love dearly because we differ. And I have to be the one whose opinion and whose path wins.
Right.
I can only go with what is right for me. And so what I would say is make sure you do your own research on the ways to mitigate radiation in your body, right? Radiation is not new in the human body. They've known how to deal with it for a long time. But I don't know why the facilities you go to won't tell you what to do. Like, you've been exposed to radiation, do this. I don't know why they don't. I don't know. All I know is you have the opportunity to do it. Whatever they don't do, you're responsible for you. So figure out how to get it out of your body. Your body has naturally, beautifully, intelligently built detox pathways in it that work, you know, and if they don't work, you can heal them and make them work. I mean, there's so many things you can do for yourself. And for us to just be dependent and crippled by what somebody in a white jacket says, or what, you know, people who tell it, don't be crippled by that. That's one person with one opinion. Yes, they've worked hard for that degree. I respect the heck out of what they do. But they're one person with one opinion. It doesn't change the facts. Right. And you are one person whose opinion is going to matter the most in your body. So I would say be your own advocate on all levels of your health. Make sure you're doing your own research. Make sure you're making choices that you feel good about. And then whatever happens, you know, you did what worked for you. I can live with whatever the outcome is for me. Because I've been 100% on my own path that I have decided. I've listened to people. I'm not cutting off information. But once I listen to them, I run it through my own filter of what I know to be right for me. Right. And if it don't add up, sorry, it's not happening. That's where my stubbornness comes in. And my mom, she was the first one to remind me. She's like, you're the same stubborn girl. Just do what they told you. I said, listen, if I've been like this my whole life, you should be used to it by now. Right. We're not going to argue about this. Right. You can stay and be helpful. Or you can go and be helpful from a distance. Those are your choices. But there's not a choice that includes forcing me to do something I'm uncomfortable with. So, I mean, you know, sometimes you have to really cocoon yourself, and that's hard for a lot of people. Right. Right. And one of the things I wanted to mention is because sometimes men think they can't get breast cancer. What was the factoid that I looked up? It is. I'm glad you're talking about this. Thank you for bringing it up. Yeah. 1 out of 100 people that are diagnosed with breast cancer are men. And so, I looked that up last night. I think it was on the CDC website. Interesting. I should have, I specifically was speaking to women from the status of being a woman, but that is so relevant and so necessary to talk about too. And as I go forward, I'll include that in my thinking because it is important. Anyone who has breasts, you know, breast tissue, which men I guess could have too, I should be doing their mammograms and making sure their body, but it's all the grams, you know, it's the mammogram, it's the, I don't know if the other ones are grams, but it's the colonoscopy, it's the mammogram, it's all the preliminary tests. We got to use the technology that's available to us. We live in a magical age of computers, you know, where things are possible that weren't for our grandparents. They couldn't put a camera up your butt and make sure everything's okay back then. So you have an advantage, and we should use all of our advantages. So everybody, men, women, everybody who needs to at that certain age. It bothered me when I was refusing them that they kept changing the age and shit. I'm like, y'all don't even know what you recommending. Right. So you told me do it once, or now you saying do that. Oh, now it's from when I'm 4. You know, but again, that thinking was wrong. I should have done something instead of nothing, even if I had just done one every other year, which was kind of my plan. And let me also say this. I understand that the only reason, let me say this differently. There are more reasons than the one that kept me from having a mammogram that women refuse them. Part of what also was going on in my life was I lost my insurance. There were things going on that, you know, complicated that I can't get into, but there was a lot of upheaval going on in my life. And so I couldn't access the mammograms at certain times during those years that I refused. Also because I didn't have the insurance. Right. And so there needs to be some way to address that part of this for women as well. Everybody can't access it. Yeah, that's true. For something this important, it should be free on like no matter what. It should be free and available, you know, like birth control. Exactly. Well, I guess that ain't even a good example because that's not available, but you know what I'm saying. Right. I gotcha. I gotcha. We need access. So for my last question though, are there any affirmations, you know, because I'm the affirmation queen over here at Check the Rhymes, but are there any affirmations that you're telling yourself every single day? I was really into affirmations about 15 years ago, and that evolved into meditation. And it's almost like, for me, the affirmation, I am the affirmation now.
Okay.
The affirmation works so well, I had become it. And so maybe that's where my just intrinsic happiness comes from. Like, I always know I'm supported. I always know I'm okay. I always know that there is something that can be done. I always know that I am powerful. You know, I look at things like, I'm in a studio, because, you know, now music is a big part of my life. I'm in a studio with an equalizer, and I'm looking at things like, oh, even when I'm managing pain, I'm like, what is working, what is not? And I'm taking those levers and I'm going and to get to a place where I feel the way I want to feel again. And so I would say, become the affirmation. You know, all the things that you're telling yourself, tell it to yourself so much that it becomes how you think. And it's not an outside thought anymore. It's the thought that's in your mind. It's the voice that's in your head that commands you and moves you every day. And so it just becomes what is the underpinning of everything you do. Right. And for me, that's really what it's become. But affirmations are amazing, and it's a fantastic place to start. Just don't stop there. Like, let it really become everything you are, you know?
I love that.
But you're living it. I'm watching you evolve. I'm watching you create the life you want. I'm watching you do the work. That's the other part that I think people need to understand. We pray, we affirm, we meditate, and then there's physical work to do. We are in physical bodies, right? Yes. We're in a 3D world that needs to be manipulated, and this is the physical form we manipulate it with. So if you're not actually doing the work, you're doing yourself a disservice. You have to do the spiritual, mental, emotional work, energetic work, and then do the physical work. I can't pray this cancer away. I believe in prayer. Yes. And I know prayer is going to be a part of this, is a part of this. Right. But there's physical work I also have to do that supports the prayer and the energetic work. So it all works together. There's a synergistic process that you are the most important variable in. So do your part.
Oh, I love that. And I want to thank you so much for coming on Check the Rhymes again and
always
explaining why it's so important for everybody, men and women, get your mammograms.
Yes.
So thank you so much, Ananda.
It is my pleasure to talk to you all the time. I'm so proud of you. I'm watching you, and I just can't wait to see you keep going. Keep running, girl. Run.
Thank you. Thank
you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Nice to see you, and I'll talk to you soon.